Morning, early this morning, a great company from Germany, Volkswagen, said yes to St. Thomas. We have been working, this council, this staff, the city, and a great deal of people from our province and our country on trying to make this work from around the world. Other locations were vying for this factory. And so as of this morning, Volkswagen said yes, and is bringing to St. Factory in Canadian history. Starting today, and the work has started out there. If you are to drive by that plant, there is some land clearing going on, and it will have to go at a fairly rapid pace. This plant would like to will open in 2027. And all of the construction jobs that come before that, and then the plant setup jobs that come before that are just kind of a bonus that come to us when we win this type of contest. My deepest appreciation to everyone on this council for the work it's done and the solid wisdom and guidance it's given us, and the secrecy. We were doing some very big negotiations here in St. Thomas, and this council chose to take it serious and recognize that we could lose it if we talked about it. So we talked about it in here, and we talked about it with our staff as they needed to know, and look at the win we have today. I a similar issue. Let's move on to tonight's business. This is the 14th meeting of the 143rd Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. And first of all, any disclosures of interest from any of the members? Seeing none. Minutes.
Your Worship, I have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on March the 6th, 2023 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Herbert, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First committee this evening is Strategic Direction and Development. First item relates to the assumption of a road widening at 20 Avenue. I've motioned that report PD 0923 relating to an assumption of a road widening along Fairview Avenue described as Part 3 on Plan 11R 10986 be received for information. And further, the council authorized the preparation of a bylaw to assume Part 3 on Plan 11R 10986 Fairview Avenue within the City of St. Thomas. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is notice of a refusal of a proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments received from the municipality of Central Elgin regarding the proposed development of a 177 unit high density residential development at 410 Sunset Drive. Your Worship, unless there are any further items from the members for this committee, I believe Councillor Clark has an item, Your Worship.
Councillor Clark.
Just of interest, Your Worship, does the notice of refusal provide any further details as to the logic?
I don't know. City Manager, do you know the answer?
I'm sorry, Your Worship. I don't have the answer at this point in time, but I will get back to you with an update. And Mr. Pompili is away, but I will get the information for you and get back to council members.
Okay. Anything else under this strategic and direction and development? Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. Is this something they have to apply for every year, or is it ongoing for the Whitecap thing?
Oh, no, we're not down there yet.
Oh, I thought that's where you were.
We're about to get there, so I'll remember you asked.
Thank you.
Okay.
My mistake. Skipped it.
Your Worship, if there's no further business for this committee, we'll move to community engagement and services. First items relates to the Whitecaps London Football Club for the property at One Password Park. I have a motion that report PR 0923 relating to the Whitecaps London FC at One Password Park be received for information. And further, the council endorsed the Whitecaps London's FC's application to their governing body, League One, to adopt One Password Park as their home field location. Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
And just like magic, I'm thinking Councillor Herbert has a question.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, do they have to ask every year for this? Or is it, once we approve it, it's forever?
I don't think it has to be asked for unless they suggest they're changing. Mr. Bray, did you, once they come here, they're here till they ask to be someone. Somewhere else.
Thank you, Mayor Preston. Yes, that's now in the league too. So things are happening quite quickly for that league.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. A couple things. One is just to, so the people home know this, that the St. Thomas Soccer Club board unanimously supported that. And that's important because we don't want to ice them out of access to things. And if they had an issue with it, I trust that they would have not voted unanimously in favor of it. Secondly, for Mr. Bray, although this is really good, I just want to make sure that this does not exclude, say, minor football from using it. I know the seasons in soccer and the seasons in football don't match up, but sometimes they will conflict with each other. So will this impact football's access to it much, or how will that work? Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Preston, I don't believe it will. The Whitecaps have been using the facility. If there was play downs or playoffs, I'm not 100% sure of that. We would schedule around that.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to fire operations and equipment considerations for high-rise buildings. I have a motion that report FD 0223 relating to fire operations and equipment consideration for high-rise buildings 14 stories and higher be received for information. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions? Carried. Councillor Clark?
Thanks. I was just wondering if we could get a reminder of the new truck that's coming in. Yeah, it's a 100-foot platform. What does that translate into stories?
How
That's a great
high
question.
can it fly, chief?
Through you, your worship, to Councillor Clark. The 100-foot platform will realistically reach 9 floors. Through placement, through the outriggers 16 feet from the building, gives us realistically 9 stories that we can reach. And and through placement, we can strategically place that truck in the ideal spots and through our high-rise training that we are developing.
Okay. Further questions of the chief on his report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to community consumption and treatment services. In addition to the report, please note that there was some further opioid-related harms information in St. Thomas from 2018 to 2021 that was provided by the Southwest Public Health. I have a motion that report ADM 0723 relating to community consumption and treatment services be received for information, and further that staff be directed to advise Southwestern Public Health of any consensus, feedback, or commentary from City Council following discussion at the March 13th, 2023 meeting. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookey, then Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Council discussion, they asked us of a few questions. Is there a perceived need for the treatment for CTS in St. Thomas? Given the statistics that they provided us, I would say yes, which is, the challenge is that can be a little bit of a loaded question. Because if it's a perceived need, then you feel somewhat obligated to do something about it, which leads to part two, what's the buy-in and support of CTS? Again, I'm not sure. So when people ask us whether we should support something and then come later and ask us for money, those are two separate things that I would kind of like to discuss as one thing. And I'm not talking about this for, supervised consumption site. I'm talking about this for everything, because it's all part of a bigger picture. So I'll skip to number 3 and say that I would love to see the models of other places specifically for an urban municipality of our size. Obviously that Hamilton's got economies of scale that we wouldn't have here for a consumption site. But I would love to see the uptake in some other municipalities that are roughly our size, because I think it could do a lot of good. But again, I don't want to get too quickly on this, not knowing who's going to pay for it, not knowing where it will be, and me just simply not understanding at all what the uptake is on these services. I will stop there and let my colleagues have their turn, but that's my, if I was talking to the health unit right now, that's what I would say to them. Okay, thank you.
I understand the city manager has some conversation, and certainly on the cost and location side of the questions.
If I could, your worship, just to clarify, and not only for council members, but also for the public, the intention of putting this report on your docket was for you to pose the kind of questions you've just posed, which I would suggest to you as we as staff here, and not the experts in the development of this proposal, are very happy to push that information back to public health as part of their feasibility study, the work that they're doing. I also want to be clear that it is not staff's intention to ask council for any direction with respect to support of this initiative. The intention is simply to share information and then pass back information back to public health that the council gave in an open forum. Doesn't keep you having the discussions you might want to have directly with them, but the intention is to provide information only, and no decision is made by this council at this point on this initiative. I just want to be clear about that for all members of council and also for the public.
Councillor Clark?
Thank you. I guess my comments would be that what we're doing presently isn't working. So I think it's good that other options. Just from looking at the research, a couple of comments I wanted to make was that it's important to note that they do not increase crime rates in their geographical area, but they do decrease fatal overdoses. So that is good news. And they do increase injection-related trash and the presence of suspected drug dealers in surrounding areas. So from just a perception, or from, if people philosophically are against drugs, there's a number of practical reasons why we should be looking at this as an option. And then I guess the real reason is doing the right thing for people and looking for a new way of looking at this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Peters?
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd encourage my colleagues to take advantage of the offer that Public Health made to participate in the consultations. They've hired a consultant. I did the interview last week. It's about 45 minutes long. Just been made, came up as my concern is, we as a council have talked in the past more and more. We are being asked to invest and get involved in areas where A, we don't have the expertise, and B, traditionally it shouldn't be the municipal taxpayer that's funding it. So I made sure that I got my points across, and I would encourage all of you to spend the 45 minutes and do the interview with their consultant to make sure that the views of the community, and the community as well too, the community can participate in this. And so if you contact St. Thomas or Southwest Public Health, you can to the site, and if you've got something to say about it, here's your chance.
Councillor Gibson?
I just want to back up what Steve was saying. I as well did the survey as well, talking to Lindsay day before yesterday and, or sorry, Friday, my apologies. And yes, the questions that Steve was asking, Councillor Wookie was asking, I too asked. And of course, they said would definitely would have to be something that we would have to talk to with all the municipalities in the area, including the upper governments working together. Thank you.
Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Well, I'd have to agree with Councillor Clark on this because I've been on council 4 years and what we're doing for the drugs, it's not working well at all. And Dr. Tran, the medical health officer, he's working on this survey and trying to get it all together. And there are a lot of positives. Of course, there's negatives. I took the time to speak to Josh Morgan with their new building opening up, and he says, Jim, it works. It's not perfect, but it does work. It does help. So I know, and someone can correct me. First of all, to get this happening in St. Thomas, council has to approve it. And secondly, it's funded by the provincial government. So someone can tell me if I'm right or wrong. That's the last I heard about looking at these sites. So, but anyway, I think I agree with Council Peters. Let's do the survey and offer your points, but I think it's time we really take a hard look at, if we look around the city now, our city's looking great. Talbot Street looking great. We've got the new police services on the corner there with the 4 officers walking the street. Homeless our new end well is going to open up shortly. And you can walk Talbot Street, and I invite anybody to walk with me at 8 o'clock with my dog from one end down to almost down to Ross, and I hardly see anybody unless they're down by the end gathering where they're supposed to sleep. But anyway, I support this, and I'm waiting anxious to hear Dr. Tran's report. So thank you.
Further questions or comments? If you allow me from the chair, I agree with the comments that have been said. This is a decision we have to make till they make it to come to us. However, we've been working exceptionally hard for the last 3 years or 4 years on rehab and detox, an actual cure for addiction. And we now have 3 beds open in St. Thomas, something we've worked really hard, wanted more. Councillor Clark, I know you and I have been on this one a little bit, and wanted more. And I'm not sure I want to first of all thank Taylor for the work that she's done on this report, but I'm not sure I want to get to let's try a new solution before we've actually had the old solution in place for longer than a couple of days, because our detox and rehab would go hand in hand with a consumption site. So I'd like us to work with Addictions Ontario and Canadian Mental Health on that one to ensure we've seen whether there's results from detox, rehab, and crisis mental health beds to go along with what might happen in a consumption site. The other piece that I'd like to share, or at least brag about, the work we've done with Indwell and the supportive housing we have provides us with each of those housing units for whether it's the Rail City Loft and the 16 people there, or soon to open the Queen Street building with 45 more beds there, all with on-site addiction and drug management and mental health assistance 24 hours a day on site. So I think we have already developed, because we've been correcting our housing and our built to zero, a consumption ability with the housing. So I'm anxious now to wait and see what comes from the surveys that have been done and the discussion this council's had tonight as to what are the next best steps forward. But mine still continues to be to offer a solution that is a cure rather than offer a solution that is not. And ensuring that if we're offering safe consumption sites, that they involve nursing staff on site that is related to rehab and detox as a curative nature. So, further questions and comment? I didn't mean to go on for that long. Seeing none, all in favor of the report? Any opposed? It's carried.
Your worship, unless there are any further items from the members under community engagement and services, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to the Talbot Street Cafe seating. I have a motion that report ES 0123 relating to the Talbot Street Cafe seating be received for information, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared for its consideration to amend bylaw 45-89 to accommodate street cafe seating in the DDB area. Moved by Councillor McCauley, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Just a clarification for me. Does the Downtown Development Board include Ross Street? Or is it just Talbot Street?
Its area, the Downtown Development Board area has some businesses on side streets to Curtis and to Center, so I would assume it would be good anywhere in that area. Mr. Lawrence, you agree? Great. Further questions or comments? Councillor Wookie?
Thank you, Worship. Always want to make sure that we have, for the public's who's not seeing this report, that there is access for people with mobility issues. We would want to make sure that people in wheelchairs can make their way down Talbot Street. So if you can just comment upon the required width for that and those kind of engineering things you're so wonderful at. Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence, on that, this does make it maybe even easier for a business to have outdoor seating and to keep the sidewalk clear for accessibility and disability. Would you say that's the case?
That's correct. Yeah. The minimum clear distance required after someone places tables is 1.5 meters. So generally we copy over the accessibility standards. There has to be a clear, flat path through even after they do this. It's really a great opportunity for council to let businesses extend from inside their business to engage with the streetscapes. By allowing just a little bit of seating and a bit of reach out, it really makes a big difference and it connects people. Walking down the street, you may be tempted to stop and look in or go in.
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. I was hoping that the director could also expand on when we expand on the capacity and the revenue opportunity that it supplies for our vendors in the downtown area.
Mr. Lawrence?
Thanks. Yes. I'm here, of course, supporter of this kind of concept. The DDB was in support as well. And there's no question that by allowing low process, easy to access extensions for business owners, it gives them the opportunities. So we wanted to stay away from agreements or fees or permits and things like that. We made this to be as easy as possible to let people extend out into the right of way. So we're hoping it provides a great benefit for downtown businesses.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to Railway City Transit continuous improvements. I have a motion that report ES 0823 relating to Railway City Transit continuous improvement be received for information. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by
Councillor McCauley, I got the other end of the road tonight. You can see how, you look the same.
Yeah, same height too. I just want to thank Justin and his team for this report. I appreciate that there's ongoing requests for feedback to continually improve transit. I also want to thank him for handling the numerous questions that I have shared his way. And the most feedback that I've received and experienced myself was navigation of the system. And I'm happy and excited to see the proposed changes that you're making, as it'll definitely make it easier to take the bus. So thank you.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the report? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Your worship, unless there are any further items from the members under this committee, we'll now move into corporate governance and administration. First item relates to the Ministry of the Solicitor General Next Generation 911 Transition Funding Support. I have a motion that report FD 0323 regarding the transition funding support be received for information, and further that a bylaw be prepared authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the transfer payment agreement with the Ministry of the Solicitor General for Next Generation 911 Transition Funding Support. Moved by Counselor Kohler, seconded by Counselor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole be recorded in the minutes of this date and be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. A move by Counselor Baldwin Sands, second by Counselor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No reports of committees this evening. We now move into petitions and communications. First item is a request for a proclamation relating to Guillain-Barré syndrome, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy Awareness Month. So I have a motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas proclaim May 2023 as GBS CIDP Awareness Month in the City of St. Thomas. Moved by Counselor Kohler, seconded by Counselor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a copy of a resolution received from the municipality of Moonbeam requesting that the province extend a moratorium on school pupil accommodation reviews. And then the last item on the agenda under petitions is a letter received from Karen Vecchio, Member of Parliament for Elgin, regarding fetal alcohol spectrum disorder awareness in the City of St. Thomas. Your Worship, unless there are any items from the members for this particular area.
Councillor McCauley.
Just regarding the fetal alcohol awareness with Ethel. So I did talk to Ethel today because when I was reading this, I wasn't sure what the ask was. So I have followed up with her and provided her with next steps on what the ask in order to clarify her ask.
Okay. Further questions?
Your Worship, will now move into business of council. If members have any items of unfinished business.
Councillor Clark.
I know we had talked about bylaw reviews and things, and I had a couple calls on tidy lots. Could you just could staff just remind us whether or not we were doing a review of the tidy lots bylaw? So I can get back to a couple citizens, whether that was one of the ones that we were going to look at. Spring's coming and they're concerned about a few things.
I think we're going to get Mr. Lawrence.
Thanks. So there's a couple of bylaws in question, tidy lot, and then there's the boulevard bylaw that we'd recently adopted. If you wouldn't mind, I'll take that back and I'll get you an exact stat if we have any future plans coming. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other unfinished business?
Seeing none, Your Worship, will now move into new business of council.
I have a sad announcement. On this past weekend, we lost Dunk McPhail, the mayor of West Elgin and the former warden of the county, passed away. Dunk's been a great friend for 20 years, and it will be sad not to hear his laugh at future county events. The county of Elgin is a poorer place without Dunk McPhail, but we wanted to make sure that this group recognized that loss today too. If you wouldn't mind a moment of silence for Dunk. Thank you. Next item.
There's no further items under new business. We'll now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws, moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Counselor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Counselor McCauley, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 13th day of March, 2023.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of corporation to a certain agreement between the city and Hey Ho Rentals Limited. This relates to a site plan file for the property at 76 Cortland Terrace for 61 unit condominium.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried. Next bylaw, please. Last bylaw, number 3.
Third and last bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and His Majesty the King in Right of Ontario as represented by the Solicitor General. This relates to Next Generation 911 transition funding.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. I rise to report the successful passing of 3 bylaws.
Good work.
I have a motion by Counselor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Counselor McCauley, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 3 bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No public notice or notices of motion this evening. Your worship, there is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition.
Home, we'll be going into closed session now, and we won't be coming back into public. We will, at the end of the closed session, come back into public only to go to adjourn the meeting itself. So questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried.